Welcome to a nerdy volume podcast episode. If you're new here, welcome. And if not, then welcome back. Dungeons and Dragons is the movie. And sorry, I'm not playing Edgin, but you should turn it to 11.
All right, what an intro, wasn't it? That was beautiful. I feel inspired and ready to fight some dragons after that wonderful, inspirational lyricism, whatever you want to call it.
Just a little dribble.
Little dribble.
A little dribble that I wrote up in front of the castle walls.
Yeah,
you know,
I felt it. I'm pretty sure I can roll like a crit 20 for sure.
It was really difficult, having to write the lyrics in rocks, so I can remember what it looked like because I didn't have paper,
Chiseling away at the rock.
Just stone tablets, I had to go back in the day.
That's hilarious. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today's episode is on Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, if you didn't catch it from the beginning. And it is directed by none other than John Francis DeLay and Jonathan Goldstein. And we have Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez in this movie. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's enjoy. Let's talk about it. And maybe, just maybe, I'm not going to make any promises. Maybe Mr. Bard over here is going to inspire us a little bit more with a few of those tickle our fancy, as they say. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Tickle fancy? I was about to say, yeah,
fancy.
Oops!
Whoa, that's a different kind of tickle. It's PG.
Yeah, as 13. A bard, I'm gonna say what's up to Holga though. No, before we actually get started, Holga, or excuse me, Michelle Rodriguez, she got pretty swole for this role. I think she got. I was just like, wow, she's rather thick. From her counterpart in all the Fast and the Furious series.
Right. Like she looked big, and not like in a bad way. Like she looked like she gained muscle for her part, which makes sense because like this. Yeah, was she a barbarian? Is that what she was? I don't know if she was a barbarian or just some kind of warrior, but
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that I didn't realize it until the end that she was a barbarian. I was like, oh really? Is she half giant?
I was trying to figure out what each one was as they were, for whatever reason, even though they told me, I think from the beginning, the whole time I thought Chris Pine's character, Edgin, was a bard the entire time. I was like, oh, he's a bard, right? Yeah, he's a bard, right? He's a bard, right?
I thought he was a bard as well, yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't, and I know they told us he's a harpy, and I'm just like, no, he's a bard, right? I'm like, why isn't he doing any magic with his music?
Yeah, I was like, can he buff Holga at all? Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Right?
But no. There was a lot of questions about certain things, certain small details. But I mean, it's a movie, so it's not like it can be an actual full-on D&D game. So, looking at the movie, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes long. I didn't even realize
2 hours and 15. Wow.
Yeah. And what's funny? When I went to go watch it, I had to go. I always get popcorn and a drink. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whenever I go to the theater, that's what I get. Even if I had dinner, I would still get it because it's the movies,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we got there late. There was a mega long line, the biggest line I've ever seen. And it wasn't like I used to go to the AMC and I used to have the stubs, the A-list stubs or whatever it's called, and there's literally a separate line for those who pay extra a month to get just cut. And I wasn't in that theater. I was in a different theater because the chairs are huge. Mm-hmm. But so I missed a big portion of the movie when I first went out and seen it. So gladly I was able to take care of that. But or that the beginning half. But I thought, I was like, maybe it wasn't that bad. No, it was bad. I missed a huge chunk. I want to say like 15 minutes of the
Wow.
first or of the part of the movie. I was just like, so technically, I only watched 2 hours of that film
And
when
that's
I
saying something.
first initially watched it. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
saying something because freaking just the trailers and all the the pre-movie stuff is like half an hour to 45 minutes on its own.
Yeah, right.
So you're out there for a long time if you missed up additional 15 minutes of the
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like I don't know what happened. I think it was just a last minute purchase of tickets, or I was supposed to watch it. Wait, no, that was a different movie. Am I thinking about a different movie now? I don't know.
They're all
I remember I
blending
had to
in.
do it. Yeah, all of these movies are blending in right now. What is the most recent? Oh yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy was the one I'm thinking about, but not that one. Yeah. So the Dungeons and Dragons movie in the beginning, like it was actually crazy because as soon as I saw Hugh Grant, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. Oh,
Hmm.
this could be good. I'm a pretty big fan of Hugh Grant
Yeah,
and his comedy, or at least his timing for his comedy. And he kind of reminds me of a British Paul Rudd,
I can
and
see that.
and so like I really did see. I would just say, okay, all right. I was like, I don't see Chris Pine, I don't see Michelle Rodriguez. I was just like, okay, Hugh Grant. And then to my surprise, we saw Justice Smith, who plays Simon,
Hmm.
and I'm not familiar with where he started, but I recognize him from a lot of films, especially I think it was Jurassic Park he was in. I don't know if it was two or three
Jurassic
or two
World.
and three, or Jurassic World. Excuse me. Yeah,
Yeah.
and his characters reminded me of how I would be if I was in that situation. Like he has a lot of logical thinking and just like, yo, that's a dinosaur. You know what I mean? And so like, yeah, I mean, I may be larger than most people, but not a dinosaur.
Yeah.
So I props to Justice Smith's on this role. He was actually my favorite character in the movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And yeah, no, I thought visually everything was supposedly like how I would picture Dungeons and Dragons.
Hmm.
And although I'm not like a super veteran player of the game, this I was trying to find the similarities, in the movie to the game.
Hmm.
And there was one similarity that stood out for me, even from now, like being so long ago than when I watched it. It was how Edgin's plans sometimes failed and sometimes worked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so I guess his plans is ultimately the dice roll. And I was just like, so Edgin technically is a dice, is a pair of dice. That's everything he does is just purely on chance. And I mean, granted, as a character, he did have a couple of how what are those other checks, like the ones to see if he can convince someone or
Oh yeah, yeah.
persuade.
Persuasion check.
Yeah, persuasion check. Yeah, he had a low score on that for sure. Like so a lot of these things, and so like I tried to figure out the dice part of the writing, and it was very interesting to see who had like the best luck depending on who it was that had to roll next.
Hmm.
I mean, granted, unless you're Zinc, that Zinc Yandar, that dude,
Yeah.
he always rolling at least 15 and up. I don't see him.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
he was definitely, and he, he definitely had like some high scores there too, like plus
yeah,
threes, plus
yeah,
twos. So I mean, he was just rolling great every single time.
every single
Like, what are you
time,
doing,
man.
bro?
Yeah,
Cheater,
and then
cheater over
and
here.
then Sophina too. Can't knock her over, the red witch or whatever you call them.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
And so like that was the main thing going into the movie, was just try to see the comparison of the two. Like did they stick to that kind of like the playing, but like I know it's a movie too, so in a sense Dungeons and Dragons is always like a movie whether you play it or not, because there's obviously there's a plot, there is a mission, there is a villain, and there is also, like, depending on what's happening, it can be drama, it could be hilarious, it could be random, as long as your players and whatnot is doing what they're supposed to. this movie is a good rendition of how I guess a one-shot game would be.
Mm.
So, like at least that's what I was looking for in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that's interesting because I didn't really do what you did, where I'm like, oh man, he got he in my mind like, oh, that would be like a rolling a 15 or something. Plus he has a +3 to his charisma. Okay, yeah, he passed or whatever. And that's pretty interesting that you went around thinking it that way. I just went, like, when I was watching the movie, like I said, I'm like, he's a bard, right? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Holga is a barbarian, right? Doric,
Yeah.
right? Is that how you say her name?
Doric, I think.
I'm like, she's the tiefling, like thief, or was she more? No, wait, no, she wasn't. She was a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
She changed. Yeah, she was a shapeshifter. I forgot that she changed.
Yeah.
That was pretty dope. I liked when they brought the owlbear. I mean, owlbear is such an iconic Dungeons and Dragons like monster animal. So yeah, she was a shapeshifter. That was pretty cool. And then Simon was the sorcerer, I believe he was. And
yeah,
so
he was a sorcerer. Yeah.
So if I'm correct, if I remember well, because you have 3 types of magic users. You have wizards, sorcerers, and warlocks. Wizards are taught magic, right? They need a book in order to do their magic. A warlock makes a pact with some kind of magical being, whether it's a demon or some kind of int or something, that has some kind of magic. And then sorcerers are born with their magic abilities.
Oh, what, dude?
Yeah, they're born with their. If I remember well, sorcerers are born with their abilities, and the other 2 kind of have to actually borrow it, whether it's from a different source of power, like I said, making a pact with some kind of magical being, or by reading magical books. So yeah, I did enjoy this. I did enjoy, and I hopefully for all those magic users out there. Maybe you enjoyed it too, because in the new, I don't think this happened in the 4th edition and beforehand, but in the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, in order to do some kind of magic, whether it's verbal or not, you need ingredients. Right. So it's really cool that he had that little pouch thing on the side that he would like turn it, and the ingredients, he would have the ingredients he needed to do the specific spell. That was cool. And I also liked that when he was, they were fighting somebody, I can't remember who it was, and he was about to say a spell, and the guy covered his mouth, which stopped him from being able to cast that spell. I was like, that's pretty dope. Like that, I appreciate that. Right. So I'm pretty sure also when they were fighting the Red Witch at the end, he shot magic missiles. He shot a fireball. I was like, oh man, I kind of recognize quite a few of these. I'm not a magic user usually. I'm more of the rogue / thief. That's the character I usually like to play. I like to stalk in the nights and stab people in the back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Some of my ex-friends would say that I do that.
Oh, you said ex-friends.
I'm just kidding. I have no ex-friends because I stabbed them in the back, so now they're dead.
That's totally different from what I play. I play what Holga would be. I love barbarian type. Anybody that can smash, like Hulk, Hulk-like characters. Just like running through like Godzilla-like through a city or a town or village.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do like that scene too.
Which one?
The one where it was a guy that was watching his magic show that put the magic back in his mouth.
Oh, that's where it was. Yeah, okay.
It was at his magic show, yeah.
I was like, I remember that happening. I just couldn't remember where it was. Yeah, barbarians. I'm just a fan of the melee classes. Those are always my favorite classes to play. Yep. But assassins and thieves and stuff, the ones that have to like stalk around, those are always my top favorite to play. And then barbarians, I think, would be second, or barbarians or fighters, monks. Those are all would be my second choice for classes. Which is funny because when I played my second D&D campaign with my friends, I was a wizard, so I think I just wanted to do something different. I was like, let me go do this, which was fun. I enjoyed it, and like I said, that's why I was like, I played a wizard, and we didn't play for very long because then COVID hit, and we just couldn't do it. It just like, I mean, us,
Right,
but
right.
we don't need to bring our thing in. Okay,
No, we
okay, I
don't.
get it.
No, we don't have to bring it.
But
Don't try to catch me before I say
it. But yeah. So the whole point of this movie is we have Edgin and Holga who are stuck in prison, and it kind of like flashbacks a little to when they were not in prison, and Edgin had a child who is Kira with a woman, and she died, and so he kind of like lost himself and became a drunk, and then Holga kind of joined their family, and she became like a surrogate mother pretty much, but there was no romantic relationship between Edgin and Holga. They were like siblings.
Holga had a type.
Right.
Holga had a type.
She definitely did. She liked them shorties.
I couldn't figure out exactly, was he a halfling or was he a hobbit or I'm not familiar with
technically
all the
a halfling is like a hobbit in a lot of cases. Well, I guess it depends who you're talking to, but I'm pretty sure I've seen pictures of, like, I think it was in 4th edition, and when I saw pictures of halflings, they kind of look like hobbits. So I'm just like, but then in other things, hobbits are a whole different thing. I don't know. Somebody can say that in the comments. I'm pretty sure they were halflings.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just like,
either halflings or gnomes. Halflings or gnomes, one of the two.
Okay. Well, gnomes. I don't know what gnomes are, their class, but I'll learn them when I play more.
Well, gnome is a race, so gnome is a race.
I don't know what they do.
Oh,
they're magic people only in winter.
Yeah. They have innate magical abilities, so they're good at that. And they're also, I'm pretty sure, if I could remember well, they're pretty good at being stealthy as well because they're so small. So if I remember well, but they're I think they have pretty good magical abilities. But she definitely had a type, and Edgin was definitely 2-3 feet too tall.
A little bit, a little bit thick too on that end for Holga. It's like, you're a bit too thick. Those lips, because I remember they went somewhere and they're like, something to drink for you and your lass. And they're like, ugh. And she's like, with those lips? I was just like, huh? I was like, that's what a specific comment.
I would probably say Holga was probably my favorite character. I just enjoyed. I liked her. I liked her story for the most part. But yeah, so they made a family together with them three, and then they started. And Edgin was a harpy. He's a bard, right? But
wasn't it called? Was it a harpy or a harper?
Oh,
harper.
Shoot! Now I don't even remember. I thought it was a harpy, but you might be right.
Could be a harper because he had to do like a whole oath. Yeah, like a whole oath. And the only reason why I know a lot about it, or like at least more detail, is because, like I said, I had to go and find the movie so I can watch the 20 minutes. Luckily, you can rent it.
A Harper. You're right. I kept saying Harpy. Harpy. Oh. Yeah, Harper. Harpy is isn't that a monster? A Greek mythology.
Harpy is a monster you can find in Shazam too.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's a Harper, but then when his wife dies, he renounces his Harper status and
his oath.
And then he becomes pretty much a thief from there on with Holga, and that's where they meet Simon, and they meet Forge, who is played by Hugh Grant. And they make a team, and they go out and they do thieves things, and they start stealing stuff. And then they meet what's her face? Safina.
Yeah.
Who is they didn't know at the time, but she was part of the Red Witches, or the Red Witch. And they're just an evil cult.
I gotta say, Safina's head did not look bald. It looked like they put a Snapchat filter on her that made her bald. Not gonna lie. It looked like a filter the entire time. I'm all like, that is not her real hair or head. I was like, that looks so fake. I was like, it looks like what I did when I was on Snapchat, as active as it used to be. And I was
She
just
just
like,
wasn't.
that's a filter.
She just wasn't committed enough to go bald. That's it.
Nope, no,
She's
heck
definitely
no,
not a meta artist or actress, right?
nope, yep,
So
100% agree.
yeah, so they get caught in this. They're trying to like rob. I can't remember who they were trying to rob, but they were trying to rob somebody. Some. Oh, he was
Harper
trying to.
Stronghold.
Yeah. Oh, is that what they were trying to
Yeah,
rob?
they're right.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
because
crazy.
that's where the tablet was
Oh yeah, the tablet of
of. I was gonna say reconnaissance.
reanimation.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it
It's a
was
template to.
reanimation
Yeah, it was like resurrecting his wife.
or
Like that
resurrection.
was
Tablet of
yeah,
resurrection or reanimation. One of the two. Probably resurrection. But yeah, he was trying to bring his wife back, but they get caught.
yeah,
That's how. And then pretty much the movie starts kind of there where they're in prison together,
yeah.
and they're about
And
to have their
Jonathan
they're about to have their what you call it, their
trial.
not, it's not a trial, but it's like where they go to check to see if you're up for probation, like if you can leave
Oh, I see.
the
Like a
prison.
hearing? Like a hearing?
Yeah, oh yeah, a hearing. They're up for their hearing, and they're both sitting there. That was just so funny. And Jonathan was the eagle,
The
right?
crow. He was a big crow. Yeah.
Was he a crow? I thought he was an eagle.
Yeah, no.
But it's like, is Jonathan coming? I was like, nah, he's stuck in traffic right now or whatever. He's like, he's late.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay. And so he starts telling the story, which is where you start seeing all this thing that was happening to him. And then eventually, like, I mean, he rolled a high enough roll to have moved the hearts of those judges.
Right.
And Jonathan finally comes into the room. And he's like, "Oh, Jonathan!" He goes and hugs him, and they like stamp his thing, and they stamp her thing, and they both grab onto Jonathan, break through the glass, and they start falling down. And the guy goes, "But we forgave your sentence."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, you should have just waited for a little bit longer."
You should have waited, man. But I get it, dude. He was a pops, you know. But that was funny though, because I was just like, "Oh, buddy," and that was one of the scenes that I missed. You know what I mean?
Oh, was it?
I missed. Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess that was right at the beginning, huh?
Mhm.
But
Like,
yeah, so
where
then
I started was when Forge was gonna cut off their head.
when
Like that's where I
Forge
walked in when that guy told his men to send them back to jail, but Safina was like, "Hey, go cut their head off." And so he went to go cut their head off.
okay,
That's where I started the movie.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow, you missed
yeah.
a
When
lot.
I first watched it, so yeah, like I had to rewatch everything, and so that very first 15 minutes is like stuck in my head. Yeah. So I have a question, and I
Yeah.
mean, it could be either right or wrong because I don't know. But what if this whole movie was based off of the roles each of these characters rolled throughout a game session, and the writers wrote around it?
You know, that would be a sick way of doing that. If they did that, that would be amazing.
Right? I mean, granted, they have to win. You know what I mean? Like they have to win. They can't lose. And so, like, yeah, I can see it happening as a one shot. Like I said, like this is a one shot film. Like it's not like a full on campaign.
You've never heard of a TPK?
No. What is that?
Total player kill. It's when all the players die in a campaign because they just couldn't beat the boss. It's like they could have not won.
They could have not won. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Safina was powerful enough to clap them all, guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, obviously not. She lost.
Yeah, yeah, right. For the.
But
people.
that would have been super interesting if they did that. If they like, okay, let's roll and we'll see what race you are and what class you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have been pretty sick. And then if they rolled also for their for all their stats. Oh, and they had to write a story around that whole thing. Oh yeah. Man,
can you imagine?
They just played an entire month of D&D with a DM, and then all right, this is going to be the movie.
All right, this is the one. This is the one.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been cool. That would have been a cool way of doing it. For
I think
sure.
it would have been a great movie if they did, especially if they brought it up in like before the movie starts. You know how some say based on a true story, it's like based on real D&D events. I don't know what I
Based
just said just now on the podcast, but I'm pretty sure someone's going to get value from this. I want some of that value, please. If not, let me just at least watch the movie for free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, true. Yeah, I would say more like based on a true campaign.
Yeah, yeah, based
That
on a
would have
true
been.
campaign.
There
Oh
we
my
go.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
That would be so
That'd be.
funny.
Where would you want to see it though? Would you want to see it in the beginning of the movie or the end of the movie? Ooh,
Oh, that's a good question. That's
you
a good
know.
question.
Ooh, I would personally want to see it at the end,
I
kind of
was
like
just thinking
how
at the end because it would be
yeah,
like a nice little Easter egg at the end, and just
yeah,
like, and then your mind's like, wait, this was a whole campaign this entire time. That's
right,
kind of crazy,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I agree.
Oh
I
man,
agree.
can you imagine characters actually dying off and they have to hire someone else to play a different character? Yo, what am I saying right now, dude?
You're look, Jonathan, John and John.
Jonathan, can I call you John?
Can I call you John? If you somehow catch this little clip for Dungeons and Dragons 2, you should do that. You should get your actors together, whoever they're going to be, roll some dice, get their class, their race, their
Yep.
stats, and then write the storyline around it. If that's not how you did this, if you did do it,
Yep.
all great minds think alike, I guess. But if you did it, look. Is all he wants to do is watch the movie for free?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's it.
Just get him a ticket
That's
to the what's it the opening night,
the opening premiere or whatever it
yeah,
is.
the premiere.
Yeah.
Just boom.
And
boom.
if you need actors, I act.
I mean, I don't act, but I could be like the guy in the back, like cleaning like a wooden plate or something. Just give me a line. It doesn't even have to be like I could be like something like
Or
that.
he could play my sensei. No?
Yeah.
Okay. No. Whatever.
I mean,
I thought we could do this together.
well,
Leo.
I don't want to bring you down. That's the only thing. I don't want to bring you down.
You raise me up. No, so I could be a bard. You teach me the guitar.
Yeah. Well, the is it the lyre? Lear?
The lyre? Lyre? Liar.
Yeah.
It's a liar.
Liar. Yeah.
Liar, yeah.
Liar, pants on fire.
Mm-hmm.
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 Yep.
Okay, so on the next part of the film, a lot of the relationships. So we already established that Edgin and Holga had like a brother and sister kind of relationship with Edgin's daughter. She was like an aunt, so it makes sense, right? So let's talk about
Forge. I think it's like a second mom.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you're right, because the mom wasn't even around.
Yeah.
And not because
Holga was Kira's mom.
Yeah, you're right. And then there's the other relationship between Forge and Safina, where it was more of like that was master servant. If I've seen one, you know what I mean. Like Forge thought he had this in his pocket. Safina's a freaking red witch. Yeah, no, Forge was nobody. He was just a con man. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, buddy. And and so that relationship was actually pretty funny. How Forge didn't understand how everybody else, did the things that they did. Like I want to say, Edgin and Holga, they stole to survive, to eat, to you know what I mean. While Forge stole to have fame and luxury and power.
Yeah. He was a gluttonous person for sure.
Yeah. Simon, he was just a young kid that is mischievous. He's a thief. He's definitely a thief. And so it was really good to see different relationships. And there was another relationship outside of Forge, Safina, Edgin, and Holga, and it was between Simon and Doric, which to me, I was just like, she wasn't in the beginning. You know what I mean? I was just like, so what happened? It was just some kind of event that happened off screen. She was like, and it was funny too, because I believe he thought that she didn't like him because he wasn't powerful enough or something like that.
No,
That
she didn't. she didn't like him because he didn't have enough confidence in himself. He was
Oh,
too
that's right.
he
That's
had
right.
too low self-esteem, and she didn't like that about him.
Yeah, yeah. And he had low self-esteem because he thought that he wasn't strong enough.
Right.
Which, yeah, which
Which
was
was
really
causing him
funny.
to not be good at being a sorcerer.
Hmm.
You
Yep,
know.
yep.
So
He had a very. I just watched a Korean drama about this guy that had like low confidence in himself, and it caused him to have difficulties with his girlfriend and stuff like that. So, hearing about Simon and Doric like that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense. I was like, it was almost like they were a married couple, and she just divorced him, but that wasn't the case with these two, and so their back and forth was always funny because Simon's all like, hey, what's up, because he was wooing her out the yang, man. He was just like, what's up, shawty? It's like in a nutshell. And
yeah.
Doric's like, yeah, no. She's like, no. And so I do like that kind of banter between two characters, and so it was really cool to see their relationship. And so there was a lot of like relationships between male and female characters, which is interesting. You have a brother and sister, then you have a master and servant, which is Safina and Forge, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have uh, a guy that's in love with someone that doesn't love him because he doesn't love himself. It's
Yeah.
almost like a linear relationship right there. And then you pop in a character like Kira, who is actually barely in the show. However, she has great powers, or because of a necklace that
Necklace of invisibility.
yeah. I was like, okay, that's the same as a cloak, but that necklace is legit. And then she didn't go with them, and I'm just like, yeah, actually, her going with them is mega dangerous, especially with Safina there. And so
Mm-hmm.
when it was really weird, so all right, aside from the male female character relationships, let's talk about the Edgin and his daughter Kira relationship. So in the beginning, I guess not the beginning, after Edgin gets out of jail and he meets up with Forge, she's all like, why didn't you take me to get the tablet of success, which is what Forge told Kira that Edgin wanted.
Yeah.
And then he's all like, no, that's not what it's called. It's like, we're trying to get back your mom. And she goes like, why wouldn't you take me? He's like, because I wasn't sure I was going to get back. And I'm like, and she didn't believe him.
Yeah.
Granted, she is a kid.
Well, and how long were they in prison for? I can't remember.
2 years.
2 years. I mean, 2 years of Forge poisoning her mind with lies. So, and he's also the one actually taking care of her, and they're living now in a castle and all this stuff. Like, can you really blame her for believing Forge over her own dad? So, I mean,
I don't know, 2 years versus, I don't know, she'd probably be like 12 on that. Out of 8 years, I guess. I was just like, I'm like, she was always with him doing those kind of things. But I guess the 2 years, yeah, Forge could do it because he's a con man. So that's what he does. He has that charisma.
he has high charisma.
Yeah, high charisma. Yeah. He'd be rolling 20s until the end.
Until he didn't. No, he wasn't rolling 20s. Definitely wasn't rolling 20s. He was probably rolling like maybe 17s, 18s. But so Safina's was not getting swayed whatsoever because she was always in control, right?
Yeah.
You were saying master servant. I was thinking more like cat and mouse. She just playing with him, letting him think that he's in control of the whole situation until he wasn't anymore.
Oh, that is interesting. That's an interesting way. And I thought mine was worse, but the cat and mouse sounds a little bit more deadly.
I mean, if you think, she could have killed him at any moment.
Yeah, because yeah, you're right. You were actually very right. Master servant wouldn't make sense because he wasn't serving her. He thought he was serving himself.
Right. He thought he was in control. And if anything, he thought they were equals at minimum, and he was in control at maximum, right? Which was never the case at all. So Safina was definitely in control of that whole situation the whole time. Mm-hmm. But 100%. He is a very charismatic person. He was rolling them 18s,
and getting a lot of things done for himself.
Yeah.
And so
So yeah, I mean, and so they go out, they meet with Forge. They find out that he's been lying to her and that he and Sofina purposely got them arrested, right? Because she did like a time stop spell and or time freeze spell. They froze
Mm-hmm.
time, and yeah, so they got stuck in there, and that's when the Harpers came and arrested them and took them away and whatnot. And then so that's when they go see Simon, and then with Simon they go find Doric, and they kind of come up with a plan to go and rescue Kira and also
Mm-hmm.
take the tablet of resurrection,
Mm-hmm.
the tablet of resurrection, or reincarnation. No, not reincarnation. Yeah, resurrection. I think it was the tablet of resurrection. I think you're right. So yeah, and then I mean, they just they do their thing. They do their thing. They have their fight in the middle, as always. As every movie has their little spit in the middle, and
Mm-hmm.
then they come together. I was kind of no. I'll leave this to the negative parts. There are a few negatives that I want to point out, but we could talk about that at the end. Something that I did like and kind of like gave me an idea, which I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, this would be pretty good. So next time when we start playing D&D again, if I choose to start a new campaign, because I can't find my book that I had all my stuff in. So
Yeah.
but when I thought it was pretty cool because they beat Doric in an wood elf community. I think it was wood elves, right? I don't think it was a mashup of everything. It's just wood elves for the most part. And I was like, oh, and they were like cutting down the trees and everything. Man, I'm like, it'd be a great D&D story because most of the time, all these races, except for the like evil races, they usually get along. But I'm like, it'd be great a story in where a nation is destroying the forest around them and the wood,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been at war with these wood elves for forever. Actually, there is a show that's like that.
The Neverwinter Wood.
Is it Neverwinter Wood?
Yeah. Emerald Enclave, based in the Neverwinter Wood.
Huh. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be dope. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Oh wait, it used to be called Learwood.
Learwood. Interesting.
Learwood. Yeah. It's a long old name.
Nice. But I thought that was cool because I was like, elves are always the like friends, but it would be cool if somebody chose to be an elf. And there's a huge hatred between elves. Oh, I mean, Witcher, I guess, is a good example of humans and elves hating each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I thought that would be a cool storyline. But yeah,
And I think the tablet was called Tablet of Reawakening.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, because it was a tablet that could bring people back to life even after red wizard's sorcery or something, but it's called. So interesting
Yeah.
enough. Because I thought it was like resurrecting. I don't know why I thought in the beginning like resuscitation, tablet of resuscitation. I was just like, I don't know. That's like a CPR kind of tablet.
They're dying. Put the tablet on top.
All right. So we have a Zank Yandar. That dude, so he was basically a paladin from
he was
Fae.
a paladin.
He was but he was he didn't stay with the Fae what is it? Their beliefs. He wasn't like how would I say it?
He didn't feel they.
He didn't yeah. Well, he was like he had a what is that? He's like he had a power of a leak. Oh no. Oh, that's right, because he was in the last red wizard conjuring thing or whatever, and he was in there and he had a tattoo. He has a tattoo on his head.
Yeah, when he was a boy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That marked him as a Thayan and and was the symbol of Zaz.
Super Thayan.
Yeah, super Thayan, dude. Super Thayan. And yeah, so he was literally, he was like the hero. He was like, I'm the best.
He's the one who always rolled 20s.
Yeah, every single man. His character was cool, but because his character was brief, the love for him dwindled very, very. slowly but
He's
surely.
definitely that NPC player, that NPC that comes into the game to help the real players, right? But he doesn't really fight anybody because he's kind of overpowering. So the DM doesn't really use him to fight. He kind of like gets them stuck somewhere. Oh, I can't do that thing, and let you guys do all the work because
Yeah.
this is about you guys, not about this one character.
Yeah.
And then when you're done with the mission, he's like, bye, and then he leaves, which is pretty much what he did. He left after they got to the point where they what did they do?
They had to go into like some kind of dungeon, and
Oh,
they
that's right.
yeah they needed to get something.
Yeah, that's right. They had to go in the dungeon, and the
They
dragon
fought that
came
big
out.
fat dragon.
That dragon was fat, bro. I was like, why you gotta do him dirty that way? That freaking
Yeah.
dragon.
That dragon was so big. I'm all like, oh
So
dang.
big.
And it was funny too, because like at first I thought he couldn't like breathe out fire because he was so obese, but then I realized it was just gas. You know, like he was just like burping and essentially. Because remember he comes out and then he's like whatever, and it's like oh, what is that? It's like almost like it looked like that butane kind of look on the camera. So I'm just like, geez. And then he comes out. I was like, I was not expecting that. That dragon rolled a 5 for sure.
He was such a fat dragon.
Such
That
a
was
fat
too
dragon.
funny.
Oh
I
man,
was like, that's not what I expected at all, but that was hilarious.
there's a lot of hilarious parts in there. Even the part where they had to go and talk to Holga's people, the one that was in the war, because they had to figure out where the helmet was or something like that. And they had to keep making people alive, and they all had like 5 questions to ask. Dude, I was dying at that part because I'm just like, yo, like, what happens if they don't ask the last question? You know, I'm like, they just reanimated like that, and I'm like, dang, imagine one of them being. And it was funny because they all had to. What was it? They kept asking questions to each other, but the skeleton would answer.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't a question, wasn't it? Or was it? And then the guy just
Yes.
goes out.
and then dies or goes back to death.
Yeah, dude. I was just like, oh man, this is great. This is great because it's so funny when they're innocently just doing all these things. One of my favorite ones next to the dragon.
No, that was good. I did enjoy when how do you say his name? Zanuck?
Zinc
Or
when
Zinc.
I'm pretty sure Zinc. Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, I don't know how to read. When he when he leaves them and he just walks straight and he's like, oh, he's coming to a boulder. Is he going to go around the boulder or is he going to go over the boulder? And he just goes over the boulder and drops the other side. Like, I guess that answered our question. I'm just like, that's too funny. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Dude, it's so crazy how strong he was. I was just like, can he not get hurt or something? I was just like, nah, he was fine throughout the whole thing. It was almost
already
like
max level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had whatever he wanted to do, he could do. He's like, I've been to many campaigns. Yeah, so yeah, he even saw. I believe he was a couple. How old was he? I feel like he was like a couple hundred years old because the last red wizard thing wasn't it 300 years prior? Or was it 1,000?
No, I think you're right. I think it was like 300 years.
Oh, and also remember how he didn't get phrases or expressions. Yeah. And having to explain to him what the expression meant and him like, I don't just say, oh dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty
awesome.
funny.
And so that's why I was just like, yo, is Zank like 1,000 years old or however years old the last red wizard I forgot what it's called. Saz Tam, I think it's called. And I was just like, he got to be old. I was just like, this guy is old, but he looks like the same age as everybody
But
else.
was he human?
He was.
Oh.
He was a human paladin and adventurer from Thay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's renowned as a holy warrior, healer, and hero in his own right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's a saying. In those instances when faith wanes and doubt waxes, I recall the tenets of the ancients, which teach us that. I was like, dang. It sounds almost like Kratos, you know, it's like, death can have me when it earns me, you know? such epic words from epic characters like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, Zank is definitely up there in the cool characters and the cool cats. He's a cool cat.
for sure.
Yeah. I guess there's not many, I guess, self-improvement other than Simon's when they finally do get that helmet.
Oh yeah, and he was able to control
Yeah.
it or
Mm-hmm.
figure out that he is a powerful not wizard but powerful sorcerer.
Yeah, yeah. He always was, which is the funniest thing.
Right.
And I'm like,
He just didn't believe in himself, and that's what
yeah.
Doric was saying.
Mm-hmm. And then I was just like, oh man. And the scariest part for him, I think it was that he thinks he would be. Actually, no. Remember when he finally did get a hold of that helmet? The helmet actually was a self lifting item, wasn't it?
What do you mean?
Like the helmet, it exuded the mindset of the person. So
Oh,
the person that he saw in the helmet was his father, and his
grandfather, I
father
think it was.
was a grandfather. Yeah, and
Grandfather or great grandfather, one of the two.
it was somebody in his line
Yeah.
that was super that he felt was the most powerful, and he'll never match up to. And so it wasn't until later on that, you know, he's like, I am da da da, you know what I mean? And I need this power, and then boom, he turned into himself.
I think actually I thought that was pretty interesting because when you get a magical weapon or magical item, you have to attune to it, right?
Yeah,
And usually in the
doing,
game,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So, but usually in the game, when you attune to a magical item, you just sit there for however many hours you're supposed to sit there, and then it gets attuned to you, right? So it was pretty. I liked how the movie made it that he had to face some kind of internal trial to
Yeah.
attune to this thing, right? If the helmet was like this level of power, but he believed himself to be here, obviously he can't attune to it because it's too powerful for him. It's like playing New World, and when you got a weapon or some kind of armor that's too powerful for you, you can't put it on yet. You have to be a certain level. So it's that kind of idea. And then it's like, oh, once you reach that level, boom, he was set. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, oh, I liked how you went about the attuning situation. Instead of just sitting there, say, "Oh, let me just sleep with it, and then I'll have it ready." No, it was like a struggle for him to get to it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, that is interesting. I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, it was the helmet was the helmet of disjunction.
Disjunction.
Disjunction. I would have never gotten the title of that if I didn't, you know, look it up just now. But yeah, no, like yeah, his arc with the helmet was actually very uplifting in a way, like, you know what I mean? So you see that we all knew he was struggling. He didn't know exactly how to fix it, and he ended up fixing it, which in turn helped him get stronger by leaps and bounds. You know, so that's why it was really good to see that part of the movie. Where
and then he got with Doric because of it. Heck yeah, good job, bro.
It worked. It worked.
All right, so to the negatives. To the negatives.
To the negative.
I don't have a lot. I don't have very many. First, I think Edwin was too weak for everybody else. I mean, I know he was the mind, you know, the planner, but other than that, I'm like, bro, do you not know how to fight? You're freaking Harper. Shouldn't you know how to like do a little bit of fighting? Like, what the flip? Why are you out here even then? Right. So that was one. It's like, bro, you need to be a little bit stronger or something. I don't know. The second thing, and people in the comments, right? If you agree, if you disagree, I was kind of disappointed on Doric's features because she was a tiefling, right? But she really didn't look very tiefling. She just looked like a human with horns on her head.
A very short human.
Right? Yeah, that was it. That was all. Did she even have a tail?
As an owlbear, yes, but in a human form.
In her tiefling form. Did she even have a tail? I don't remember her having a tail. So that, yeah, like, oh no, she did have a tail. She did have a tail. I just looked at a picture. But that was it. Like, she wasn't red, which most tieflings are usually red, but there's different colored tieflings out there.
Red hair.
You're right. She had red hair. That was as far as the red went. But I think it would have been cool if they made her kind of
Vision.
mm, like no. I was thinking more of Mystique, right?
Oh,
But not as pronounced. Like they could have made it that the red was like closer to her hairline and it kind of faded into her skin tone and like
oh,
around her face, so it's not like super duper noticeable that she's like,
yeah,
it's just not like bam in your face. Because I get it that sometimes the idea doesn't transfer as well to a movie, to like to the videos. I
hmm
get that, but she was just a person with horns on her head and a tail.
mm.
That was it. I mean, that's not really what a tiefling looks like. So I was that was like probably my biggest disappointment was that. And then also, you know, Edwin not being strong in any way. He was, other than just planning things, he had nothing. He really had nothing to him. They could have done this without him.
They could have, yeah.
He
Well,
wasn't strong, he wasn't fast, he wasn't sneaky, he wasn't anything particular.
at least they didn't showcase that. Not even in the fight too against Safina. You see that awesome like Guardians of the Galaxy type fight against Safina,
Yeah, that fight was
and
dope. It was good. I liked it. I
yeah,
enjoyed it.
and I mean, although he was there, you don't really see a lot of punches and and spells or whatnot coming from him. So yeah, I get what you mean, but yeah, actually, I don't even know. That's why he's not my
They
favorite
should
character.
they should have made him a bard. Because then he could have used his lyre to, like, I don't know, shoot spells or something, buff
Right.
people, like use magic in order to help the people. But he didn't do much of anything, and that was kind of disappointing to me. I mean, I enjoyed his character, but
hmm
but his character was lackluster for sure. Like there wasn't much. Kira had more magical abilities because she had the freaking pendant of invisibility or whatever
Right.
than Edgin did, right?
hmm
Um, I will say that I did enjoy the ending when they finally beat the Red Witch and Holga is like pretty much dead, and that's where like Edgin and kind of realized that the most, because he wanted to bring her. He said he wants to bring back the mom because Kira never had her mom, and he wanted her to meet her, right? But what he
Yeah.
didn't realize is that Holga was her mom this entire time because it's the person she grew up with, and the person who actually missed her and who really wanted her was Edgin, not Kira. So I liked
Mm.
that ending where they chose to bring Holga back instead of trying to bring back uh
His wife.
yeah, his wife. So
Yeah.
that was a touching moment at the end. But yeah, how about you? You have any negatives?
Negatives. As far as the negatives go, I don't think I had a lot of negatives in this show. I think the actually Edgin was kind of annoying throughout the show, where I was a little like, okay, bro, like you got to figure something out. You know what I mean? And so trying to, I guess, create plans with people that normally won't, and then you'd be like, oh no, here's another plan. Here's another plan. I'm just like, oh, you kind of like, well, you know what I mean? However, that's very small. That's a very small negative that I had, and I was just like, especially that plan where he was like, I guess, causing a distraction, and that should have worked a lot better than it did. And
Mm.
and there was something that happened, I forget, in the movie, but he's like, it's the illusion started to deform, and that killed me. And I was just like, how come nobody was able to get out of that area in the time it took? Like, because because it was all in real time, so it wasn't like this thing was happening and they weren't there at the same time. No, they were there at the same time because they both shared the same screen time. And I was just like, yo, Edwin or Edgin, excuse me, he could have made it to the other side of that tunnel or inside of the building or wherever he was going at the time before they turned around and saw him. And I'm just all like, he could have gotten out of there. I was like, no. I was just like, I get it for dramatic effect and plot armor, but no, he should have. That was enough time. It was enough time, and I guess now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it's a little bit bigger than little, but I guess that would probably be. Wait, hold on. Is there another one? Oh yeah, the bald filter. Yeah, the bald filter.
Oh yeah. You did mention that
That
earlier. I
that
didn't. I
bald
didn't
filter
catch
was
that. So
weird.
that's very interesting.
I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. It could be she had like a a
A
hair
cap
ornament
on, a
thing.
ball
Yeah,
cap.
but it looked so foggy on her head, and I'm like, is that a filter? But that's
They
it.
did do a good job of
Yeah.
fixing it.
That's it for me. Yeah, like I don't. There's not a lot of negatives. A lot of funny laughs and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you rate it then?
I'm gonna give this movie, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor of Thieves. I'm gonna give this movie a C plus, and I'll tell you why. Although there was great scenes with the dragon, the reanimation of the dead. You have Simon learning how to be better as a person, and learning to be better as a sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all just things within the film, like almost like just the character their character writings, right? And I didn't like the story of how Edgin's daughter was taken by Hugh Grant or excuse me, Forge, and there was this huge thing between them that caused this entire thing. Like it all literally just revolved around the Red Wizard, conjuring up that thing that they did hundreds of years ago, and then you realize that the story was just kind of weak as far as that goes. Like the whole Olga and Edgin and Kira as a family, that somewhat helped it, but like the whole thing was just to get Kira back, right? That was the main goal for this group. After they figured out what's going on, after they figured out there was the Red Wizard and whatnot, like the story of the Red Wizard should have been a lot more oomph to it, and there wasn't that. However, that fight made it up for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, that fight where they all, I mean, when that huge stone hand went to go and grab Safina, I was like, that's cool. All right, we got Toph in here, Toph from Avatar, and so I'm just all like, okay, this is cool. And then you see all the magic and stuff from the sorcerer, from the owlbear, from Holga's like super strongness, and like you said, I was like, I don't know what Edgin's doing, because he really didn't do much other than like kind of figure how things will end up. And I don't know who did it, but whoever cut up Forge's balloon, the one that had all the treasures in it, that was an awesome move. So yeah, it's a C plus. It's a good movie. To be honest, I'd watch it in the theaters again, but that's just me. So I was just like, I don't want to be too biased because Michelle Rodriguez is in it, and I liked her since Fast and Furious 1. So
understandable. Totally understandable.
So yeah, and yeah, so C plus it is for me. What about you, man?
You know what? I agree with you. I give it a C plus. What you mentioned about the Red Witches, very true. They were like kind of like an afterthought at most.
Yeah.
Like Sophia, you're trying to do what? I don't even know. Who are these people? What are we talking about right now?
What exactly happens?
Like, yeah. It's like, why you want to do this? So 100% agree. Yeah, C plus. I would not go watch it in movie theaters again. I didn't watch it the first time. We rented it on, I don't know, Apple TV or something like that. So yeah. But I mean, I also agree with Michelle Rodriguez. Like, yeah, big crush in Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I was.
Hopefully,
like,
my wife doesn't listen to this.
Dum.
You're always number one in my heart, honey. But yeah, no, I didn't expect much from it, and it gave me exactly what I expected. So C plus is the best I can really give it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm actually thinking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, what did I give Guardians of the Galaxy?
I think you gave it a B.
Did I give it a B? I hope. I'm like, Guardians of the Galaxy was way better than Dungeons and Dragons, and if I rated them the same, I got problems.
Yeah,
My
I
rating
believe you
system
gave
is
it.
not consistent.
I think you gave it like a B. Yeah, it's a B, maybe a B minus, or maybe a B plus. But it's a B. I give
Yeah,
it an A plus.
yeah, you did. Yeah, you guys gave you and Randolph looked at me like I was some kind of crazy person when I didn't give him an A plus. But like I said, I
No,
didn't like unfinished stories, so hurts my
you are
heart.
absolutely right. Yeah, I don't like teams that are supposed to unite with every member and they only have like missing one because of
Mm,
either they're not on the same planet, they're not in the same area, or whatever,
or they're about to die.
or they're already dead. Yeah, yeah.
True, true. All
All
right,
right.
so sing us out.
Oh. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. That wraps up this episode. Don't forget to follow us on IG, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Anchor FM. You can listen to us every Monday on Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, too. Ooh. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to check out our videos, and please leave a comment. And don't forget to turn it to 11.
Yeah. This is everybody.